Saga. It's 2021, and what could be more fitting than the Posthuman Saga? This is a behemoth of a game. In the cases that if this was not a board game, it would be an RPG, pretty much. And this is in effect, Posthuman Saga is kind of like what would happen if somebody decided to take a role-playing game and then instill a lot of the elements into the role-playing game back down to the board, because you've got characters here, you've got stats here, you've got kind of you've got story and backstory and decisions and things like that need to be made. And it's all kind of wrapped up in this rather strange but completely blindsided system, which revolves around kind of terrain and patterns and puzzles and stuff like that. And it's a little bit of a blindside and a sideswipe, and ultimately it's quite clever. The setup's I didn't like the setup. I hate the setup. It's fiddly. It takes a long time. This is a game that if you're deciding to sit down and play it, then you are deciding to sit down and play it. And there's no way that anybody is stopping you from playing this game if you have decided to play this game. If you decided you were playing Posthuman Saga and then somebody decided that they were not interested in playing Posthuman Saga, I would expect there would be crosswords, because you would be probably taking at least about half an hour to kind of set this up. And you can mitigate that by having, after playing it a couple of times, you know how to kind of lay it out again. But don't expect the first time when you're playing this to be even up and running within the first kind of 45 minutes. I mean, the rule book goes as far as even explaining, it's like, guys, when you're going to be playing this, just make sure that, when you finish playing, you put everybody back in their own little bag, so it's easier to kind of get them out again, which is, which says a lot. But once you do get it set up, there's an awful lot of kind of little intricacies and kind of information. Surprisingly enough, and I think the first surprise, and I think this will potentially put some people off, is the kind of the biggest surprise, and potentially not the nicest surprise, is that you're not physically kind of exploring the map together. In most scenarios, you've actually got your own sector of the game. So if you're playing it kind of like one player, you'll have this kind of quarter. If you're playing it obviously if you're playing all your characters here, then yeah, I mean, you'll have the entire kind of board game set up, but you're really concentrating on kind of your own little sector and exploring it. And the reason you're concentrating on your own little sector is then it comes down to kind of like the patterns and actually how you score the game, which I was very, very kind of impressed with, if I'm being perfectly honest. Because I was expecting, I think when it came into this, I was expecting some kind of Fallout type thing, some kind of post-apocalyptic. I expected I was going to be kind of like fighting kind of lots of these guys and fighting kind of lots of these folk. And you do fight. There is kind of quite a lot of parts where you will be essentially facing off. And a lot of the time it's through choice based on the kind of the actions that you take. You will be fighting people. And you'll be rolling dice, and it'll be based on skill, and it'll be based on the kind of the cards you're going to play and the actions that you're going to play. But a lot of it is down to kind of spatial awareness and planning, and kind of even some kind of resource management, because the most of the ways that you're going to be kind of scoring on this game, or and especially in the kind of the newest expansion, is it depends on how you're kind of laying out the tiles in the game, and what's happening with the these scavenger sites that are here as well, and that has kind of like a great effect on how the game kind of goes on. And as you play, you'll have little events that you'll have to take into account. You'll pick up kind of mutations if you get attacked in battle that are either going to kind of be wonderful. You think they're going to be wonderful, or they're going to be terrible. There'll be additional encounters with regards to kind of like extra companions that you'll pick up as well. And all the time you'll be wanting to kind of keep an eye on what's happening with the layout of the scavenge sites that you're kind of collecting. The journey home in itself just adds to that. I mean, all it does is it changes around the geometry and the geography, so there's not a massive difference to the gameplay, apart from missing out on things like your main missions and things like that. There's not a huge difference to it, but it is just another additional way to kind of play the game. It's not like particularly fast paced. There's not an immediate sense of urgency. You know that during the game what's either going to happen is you're going to end up kind of in playing through the whole 16 rounds and finishing the game, or you're going to end up in the situation where you're heading off against the boss and then you kind of finish the game. So it's only when you get to maybe when you're getting past into kind of like the final 5, 6-ish rounds that you start to pay a closer attention to what everybody is doing, just in case somebody is about to potentially trip off against the big boss, because they're then aware of what they have to do in order to kind of attack it. Combat's kind of a strange thing in the fact that when you face off against somebody, you're kind of deciding the additional bonuses that you're taking, and then you're going up against your bad guy who'll be rolling. They'll be rolling what they'll be trying to attack you with. But you've got this kind of real interesting thing that when you're playing against somebody, you'll be playing your cards, but you'll be playing kind of like your hit cards, and that'll decide. And they've got kind of strange combinations on them, so they have actually got kind of like a melee attack on the bottom and a long range attack on the top. And sometimes sometimes you'll find that it's advantageous for you to kind of play one card over another, and you sometimes might be sacrificing that for you. So I like the kind of the combat kind of thing. I like how the way the story's kind of been interwoven. It is, to me, it's more kind of role-playing game than it is kind of like what you would expect on a kind of, I guess if people are used to kind of Fallout and looking at something like Fallout, this is not that game. If you're expecting to come in and start kind of be battling left, right and centre, yeah, you can do it through choice, but you'll find pretty quickly that you're going to end up in a situation where you're going to be suffering pretty quickly. This is more about an exploration game and lining up your ducks so that you can score the maximum amount of resources and therefore kind of points, and effectively kind of win out as you go. So in that, it's kind of quite interesting. Yeah, it doesn't stay too long at the table, but I wouldn't never kind of get this out. I would never get this out with 2 hours to spare, knowing that I'm going to be able to play a full game without a rush. This is definitely like an afternoon job when there's nothing else on and it's completely raining outside and everything's terrible, and you just want to get yourself some post-human on. I like the little mutations and what they bring in. I like the additional companions, because some of them can be quite useful, and some of them can be absolutely just a pain in the butt, and you kind of want to get rid of them. So all in all, Yeah. If you're expecting skirmishy, apocalyptic, no, you're not going to get this. If you're looking for kind of like more of a story led, a little bit of abstract kind of puzzliness to the game, which it is, in resource management, then, and a bit of tile laying, funnily enough, because that's what's going to get you the points, and this is probably for you. So I can see people getting to the table expecting one thing and absolutely hating it. But if you're forewarning people you're going to be playing with what they can expect, then I think that they'll be quite surprised by what they'll play. And that's my impression, anyway. And here's another impression. Nah, that's not funny. Is it secret? Is it safe? You're a wizard, Harry. That's the only ones I can do. I'm Patrick Stewart, and I say you want to play Posthuman Saga. And so on, and so it's just rubbish. Just cut. Take me outside and cover me in rain. So that's Posthuman Saga from Mighty Boars, and there is a Kickstarter for an expansions on the Kickstarter at the moment for the expansions, which is called The Journey Home, which I'm quite disappointed it doesn't involve 2 dogs and a cat. That's just disappointing. It's terrible. Boo. Rubbish. Hate this game. It's Posthuman Saga. This is We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. Remember, stay safe. Roll 6s. Make something awful. And the holidays are finished. So's the world. Until the next time. Goodbye. I've got him, man. Do you want to know what's funny? It's not even my dog. It's just a picture of a dog. We can't even have... You know what? We've not even got a dog. It's a dog. It's a dog we don't own. Isn't that brilliant? It's a dog. We've got pictures of dogs we don't own. It's a posthuman saga. Saga for money. Do what you want me to do. I'm a posthuman saga. Sagging for humans. And any old human will do. I'm a posthuman saga. Sagging for humans. Do what you want me to do. I'm just a posthuman saga. Sagging for my humans. And any old human will do. Ugh, my piano's broken.